have such sights to show you.
We're Poppin the Scary horror podcast. I'm your host Coale, and with me as always, I have my good friend and co-host Aaron.
Woo! I'm excited to watch it. We're gonna watch Zootopia 2. Watching Zootopia 2, baby, on the podcast.
Biggest Judy Hopps fan. Hop to it. We're fitting the theme of Zootopia. Zootopia.
Zootopia, the rabbit strikes back.
Yes.
What are we actually watching?
We're watching Phantom of the Opera from 1925.
Oh, hey, that's also fitting. Yeah, Trump was just blasting this out of the White House.
Bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back.
Full circle. Yeah, this is gonna be after all my emails get leaked. I'm gonna be blasting the soundtrack to this out of my house.
All your Zootopia 2 ticket stub receipts.
When I see the folder in my homework folder titled Zootopia 2.
You're literally the meme
when that gets leaked.
You're the meme of like that one guy that saw Captain Marvel so many times and went up to Brie Larson is like, this is my 127 times seeing the movie. It's Judy Hopps.
Me approaching rabbits, I find in the forest.
I watched Zootopia so many times. Please give me your autograph.
In the middle of PetSmart.
So Phantom of the Opera from 1925, which contrary to the Andrew Lloyd Webber soundtrack, Trump was blasting in the White House, this one is actually the silent film adaptation of the book.
Okay.
So it turned 100 years old this year, coming out in 1925. So do you have any sort of connotation to just Phantom of the Opera in general as the story, be it novel, musical, original film, movie of adaptation of the musical, anything like that?
Honestly, no. Never seen it. Never seen the production. Never seen a movie. Never read the book. Never even really heard the opera. I can't, besides what was blasted out of Trump's I've been surrounded by the hype of it for a long time. Being in high school theater, you get a lot of Fan of the Opera heads around you. But, never did see it. So I really don't know what it's about. Besides, there's an opera and there's a phantom in it, and he's got that mask. That's all I got.
The laugh sent me. Doing that. That's honestly very surprising because, we've never talked about it in the time that we've been hanging out together for like the past 12, 13 years about.
Why don't we talk about Andrew Lloyd Webber more? I want to talk about cats.
That's more about me, except literal cats, not cats.
Same.
I think the musical Cats makes me feel very uncomfortable.
I've seen it multiple times. My mom took me to see it when I was like 12.
Really?
Yeah, just people in leotards and doing their alley cat thing.
It's a weird ass musical.
It is a weird musical. Yeah, I've read the original book too.
There's an original book?
Yes, it's much simpler than the play. Just a bit cute little rhymes about cats. Yeah. I don't know how Andrew Lloyd spinned it into that, but good job on him, I guess.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. I'm learning lots of new fun things about Aaron today. Lots of.
Sorry, my theater kid energy's coming out since we're talking about Phantom of the Opera.
It's good. So that's really interesting perspective because I figured you would probably be maybe even more familiar with it than myself since
I only put on the air of having some level of knowledge or intelligence. I'm actually quite the simpleton.
Ain't no way. If you're a simpleton, I don't want to know what I am. Holy hell. My experience with Phantom of the Opera is very much similar to Aaron's in the fact that my big introduction was the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical. That was like what I heard about, and then I'm like, oh, it's actually based on a movie, and then I'm like, oh, it's based on a book. Finding that out. And around the time, I would say, I was getting into sort of the early Universal monster films, and trying to learn about them and everything, kind of getting into the Frankenstein Dracula films. I was curious about Phantom of the Opera because the whole plot sounded interesting to me, and I watched the silent film. I think I might have I don't even know if I borrowed it on a disc from Netflix back in the day whenever they mailed it, or I found it somewhere online. But I remember watching it and just kind of being like, okay, very, very neutral and everything, which I hadn't really been exposed to a lot of silent films of the time. So it was also kind of like, even though I feel like, people should give silent films a chance to watch and everything, I do think it is a bit of an acquired taste, because you do have to kind of...
Yeah, you gotta read.
Yeah, read. Not only that, but it's just very different in the fact that obviously back in the day, whenever they did silent film with their limitations, they didn't want people reading just a whole novel on screen, so they would have to kind of mime out a lot of things, and you would have to kind of pick up on it. So it's definitely sort of like a different viewing experience, and so watching it, I was like, okay. And then of course I would see unfortunately, on the other half of Aaron's drama kid side, I was in choir. So, I also heard that soundtrack on blast, seeing the Joel Schumacher adaptation on choir trips on the bus back and forth, rolling in the big tube TV, playing in close to Christmas break, or something like that, just being like, I don't want to teach today, watch a movie, huzzah, sort of attitude. So I'm fairly familiar with the storyline, more so with the musical side than I am the movie, and obviously never read the novel. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I'd be lying if I said like, oh yeah, the Phantom is one of the first ones that pops up with Universal Monster. No, it's just like, oh, I guess Phantom of the Opera is also a Universal Monster. So true. That's like,
he is
about my overall attachment to it. And I figured with it being its 100th birthday this year, I felt like it's time to visit it, because it's been a while since we've seen a silent film. I think the last one we watched was Nosferatu. Yeah, and that was like 2 years ago, I want to say, or something of the sort. I think it was
back. I think that's the only silent film we've seen on this podcast.
Yeah, so
right?
yeah, and I figured it was about time to see it. 100 years
for sure.
Woohoo. And I don't really have any other grandiose things besides I'm curious if I'll like it better than I did the first time, or it'll be about the same. I doubt it'll go lower, be like, oh man, that movie stunk. Like I'd be bewildered, which I don't know. This might be an interesting point to go back to, but my hopes are above middling, I would say. I'm like, okay, should be good there. I don't know. I wish I had like my billowy cape and a flare of the orchid to leave, because that would be a much cooler exit than what I'm going to do right now,
Can I confess before we exit that the Phantom of the Opera in my brain, I just picture as that tuxedo man from Sailor Moon.
I mean, I feel like it's the same thing.
Okay, great. As long as we're on the same, because that's what I'm imagining, and then, I'll let you know what we're imagining whenever I actually see the media that this is attached to.
Yes.
Let's dive into the Phantomverse.
Man, you had a much better exit than I did.
Oh, I didn't. I just left my smoke bombs at home. I was going to... But... So we gotta just
I was gonna cut off there. I was gonna end it with this stuff.
Well, you still can, with the power of editing.
Once there was an ugly barnacle. He was so ugly that everyone died. The end.
How about that edit? Am I right? I can't believe we're already back to talking about the movie.
Great edit.
Yeah, great
Excellent
edit. Great edit on your part.
I don't know where'd you get that one.
I don't know.
Soundeffects.org.
I don't know. It was
Pixabay.
I mean, I guess it's technically free since I'm editing the effect, but.
Or did you just do one with your mouth? You go.
Maybe.
Anyway, it was fantastic.
Anyways, yeah, and we're back from watching Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Like Aaron said, fantastic on his behalf.
Phantomtastic.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Okay, so yeah. All
Woo!
right.
We watched it.
I know. First full experience for you watching
Yeah.
anything Phantom of the Opera related from start to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You want the plot synopsis?
I mean, I guess so.
You know
We already know it's fantastic.
Fantastic. You know that episode of SpongeBob where he has the bad breath, but everyone thinks he's ugly, you know?
Yeah.
I think Patrick gave a summary of this movie in that episode where he's like, once upon a time, the guy was so ugly that everybody died. The end.
Not gonna lie, that's probably going to be the transition sound. Yeah, so plot synopsis for Phantom of the Opera focuses on an opera house
In
that...
Paris, France.
Oui, oui.
That's the setting.
Yes, Paris, France.
Paris,
Paris,
France.
France. As Aaron said, switching owners, and as owners seal the deal on it, they are warned, by the way, there's also a Phantom of the Opera here.
Yeah. Just so you know, he chills out in box 5, and they're like, we're not children, you buffoon, we don't believe in phantoms.
Yeah, after they find out, we basically see what the Phantom is up to in his obsession with one of the stage actresses, singers, Christine.
He's a lurker, for sure. Christine's up there, though. She's the understudy for the main Madame Prima Donna, whatever her name is.
Carlota, I think.
Carlota, yes.
Yes, so... Yeah, and then we just see how Christina's lives go due to the Phantom just lurking about.
Pulling the strings, as it were, in the background of the opera.
Yeah, and I'm going to be completely honest going into this. I have never read the novel of Phantom of the Opera, and it has been a hot minute since I sat down to watch the entirety of the Phantom of the Opera musical. So whenever it comes to overall plot and trying to compare it, I can't bring too much to it, but as a plot of its own, I mean, I'm happy with it. It's a good story.
Kind of a classic. It's really the original parasocial viewer story. Yeah.
That is kind of weird. It's kind of weird to bring that into context.
It's true. He's just an autistic Twitch chatter that's like, Emiru, I love you.
Thanks, Eric, for the 100 bits donation.
Thanks, V_Phantom.
Yeah.
For...
Can you play this game pretty please?
Oh, yeah, another 100 gifted subs. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Eric. I'm already taken. Plus, it's kind of weird just dating a viewer and stuff. I appreciate the donation. That's what we need, a more modern Phantom of the Opera.
An updated Phantom of the Opera. Just call it Phantom. You're gonna...
Phantom of the Twitch.
Phantom tax.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just a good basis of a story. I feel like just like someone who holds a lot of power over something and tries to win someone's affection by giving them slivers of power here and there, and they expect like, oh, because I'm giving you this, now you're going to give me this in return.
Yes, you're going to give me what I'm owed.
Yeah, and I think it's just a good story basis overall, so I'd be curious on how the book the book, or maybe if there's an adaptation more solely based on the book. Because really, obviously with the musical, there's obviously a lot of numbers that kind of build on certain moments, but I'd be more curious on kind of how it is without Andrew Lloyd Webber's music, if there's any more underlying sort of narrative of that. But as a basis of its own in a silent film, I felt like it was like very straight to the point, which obviously, you know, as I even talked with Aaron before, in silent film, it's really kind of a tricky medium because you can't just over explain and just have them feel like they're reading a book, basically.
It is almost more like opera, you know, to draw a comparison there, in the sense where there's a lot of acting and dramatization to sort of show character, but you can't use a lot of words. You can't really, you know. for different reasons, obviously. But yeah, it does remind me of, I mean, obviously it's a 100-year-old film, but it reminds me a lot of the origin of film whenever they were just adapting stage plays in the beginning. They hadn't quite figured out the art of cinema yet. So there's a lot of, you can't, it's hard to slip in a lot of those extra fun context and details in any sort of dialogue, because you just don't have the space to put up a title card to be like, and by the way, here's some context. You know, they have to all bake that into the literal pantomiming from the actors and the sets in the background and whatnot. So,
so yeah, I mean, I feel like with those limitations, I feel like the story they told, it's like pretty much straightforward. There was never a moment of what's going on here or what are we doing. It just felt pretty straight laced the entire time there.
Yeah, they didn't do a lot of zigging and zagging, but yeah, I guess you can't really do that with a silent film like that. But
yeah, and I guess we can go to the cast, which the Phantom himself is played by Lon Chaney. And
son of Dick Cheney.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. No. But secondly, he is the father of Lon Chaney Jr., who played the Wolfman.
Oh, so a long history of monster men.
Yes, whenever it comes towards horror actors and everything, having to compose myself and everything, Lon Chaney is typically considered one of the greatest silent film actors, and especially with like horror films, especially because he portrayed the Phantom in this, and then he portrayed Quasimodo in the silent film adaptation of Hunchback of Notre Dame. And there's tons of different films
that he was cast as an ugly guy in France,
basically.
Okay.
yeah so you have it down, but yeah, like Lon Chaney even had did a lot of his own makeup a lot of the time, like even had his own kit. Like one of the things is in the Hunchback of Notre Dame, one of the eyes is like glazed over, but obviously they didn't really have contact lenses back in the day, so they literally like shoved like a glass dome. I feel like I could be totally like reading it wrong, but it's just like that level of commitment of sort of distorting his face. And while I feel like his face reveal is like far from like, oh my gosh, how did they do that? Because he kind of just looked, again, not very attractive. But I think the idea of just Lon Chaney being that dedicated to his own makeup and everything is very admirable. But I think realistically, I know we're kind of starting off with the monster, and usually we save the monster for last, but really he is the titular character.
Yeah, he's the Phantom of the Opera. And when you got a face like that, you gotta learn how to use makeup.
Yeah, and I gotta say, there's something about Lon Chaney's performance that I think has a commanding presence, just like the motions and the expressions. Again, it feels like exactly he knows the medium he's working with, and he knows exactly what it needs. And I feel like, again, it works with the character well because it's literally a dude obsessed with opera.
Yeah,
and
he's
music.
very theater kid coded, but that's what you gotta be if you're the Phantom of the Opera. You're not the Phantom of the arcade or the pizza parlor. He's walking around with I love how he like leads everything in a grandiose sort of, his arms up, his sort of, and we go,
Yes, he had a lot of great physicality to himself there, and even if it came to him playing the organ or doing lots of stuff, I mean, he is very. It's hard to look away whenever it comes to seeing him on stage performing, and obviously he's probably the main reason why a lot of people do remember this film and also look upon this film fondly. And so he's very much a strong leading man whenever it comes to this in regard. So yeah, there's a lot to be said, and in all honesty, I mean, that was probably one of my favorite things about this film as a whole is Lon Chaney's performance. And that's not to say the other players aren't bad at all, but obviously it is kind of all circling around the Phantom, the fact that the Phantom's obsession with how the operas ran and that Christine is the star and everything. So yeah, he's, what can I say? He's like the GOAT of silent acting. Which is funny because in comparison to the previous monster film we watched, Nosferatu, Max Schreck as Count Orlok is very good, but it's like very different.
Yeah.
Since obviously, Lon Chaney's all about movement and poise and everything, whereas Max Shrek is like literally makes you feel uncomfortable
Right, yeah, he's
with his
creepy.
glares and stance and hardly any movement he
Mhm.
does. And whenever he does movement, it's just very alien and foreign. It feels very
Yeah.
odd, but
But you gotta
yeah.
be, yeah. For
Mhm.
the Phantom, he's a romantic, you know.
Mhm.
He's swooning. He's I'm the
Mhm.
guy. I'm Count Chocula. That's what I imagine. So I imagine he'd sound like.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So that's one of my favorite things. Although the leading gal, Christine, played by Mary Philbin, I feel like does a decent job
Yeah.
as well. I will say it's one of those things that it's so hard to know, especially in this new age of them not really knowing like what's good acting for the silent film medium.
Sure.
It's always hard to know, kind of like, okay, do you think this is maybe over exaggerated a little bit for this character or
Mhm.
not? But overall, I still felt like she was fine, did the part of just sort of like the understudy, like the girl who everyone overlooks, but then they give her a chance, and of course she shines and everything. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, for the most part, I feel like she does well. It's just, again, unfortunate they don't give her character too much to work besides being the Phantom's obsession.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm with you there. It's hard because I think I've the only other silent film I've really seen front to back that I can think of is Nosferatu. So I don't really have like a lot of reference to say, is this good silent film acting? Is this bad silent film acting? Yeah, I guess
Mhm.
you kind of gotta overact
Yeah.
with your expressions because that's all you got. But
Yeah, it's weird because, again, I feel like it's more, like you mentioned before, in character for the Phantom to have such grandiose,
right.
sort
He's a
of
dramatic
expression.
guy. I mean, just in the script and otherwise. But
But then whenever it comes to normal actors, it's definitely hard to kind of wage on whether they're like whether they have to really act with their arms as well,
Right.
whenever their facial expressions aren't enough. Yeah, I'd be kind of curious on kind of deliberating on kind of like, okay, is this good or bad? But either way, it does the part. It never
It
made me
does.
feel thrown out and everything. So that was very well. One person I do think was definitely pretty flavorless is the love interest of Christine, Raoul, played by
Yes.
Norman Carey, who's literally just a dude who's upset. He's like, I don't know why she's been pushing me away.
I'm super rich. Why doesn't she love me?
Yeah. And that's about it. He's basically sort of the driving force on trying to basically find out more about Christine and kind of be an outside outlet on kind of knowing
Yeah.
stuff. I feel like that's about the only purpose he has story-wise. And
Yeah, he definitely is the one that pushes forward like the public understanding of what's this Phantom doing? What's it all about? Because after he sort of catches wind that there might be some sort of cahootery going on with the Phantom and his lover, who no longer wants to be his lover for some reason.
yeah, so whenever it came to his acting, it was just very much like, okay, this is pretty it wasn't like, obviously it wasn't terrible, but there just wasn't as much to it.
He did play the role exactly the way I thought he would, just looking at him. The guy with the weird little pencil mustache.
Yeah.
Always in a tuxedo. Like,
Mm-hmm. But I will say there is one performance that I genuinely am surprised that I don't even remember the first time watching. Whenever I watched it, like, good lord, it must have been like 10 years ago or something like that. And that's Simon Bouquet, played by Gibbs. Actually, no, that's not who I was talking. Sorry, Bouquet. You had your brief moment
fuck you, Buka.
at the beginning talking about no-nos and all that stuff. Voldemort.
Oh, is that? Yeah.
It's a Ledo, played by Arthur Edmund Carraway.
Ledo. Which one is he? Is he like
he-
the stagehand guy?
He was the guy with the darkened eyes that's like looming around at the beginning. You're like, who the hell's
that
this guy?
Yeah, okay.
Now his glare, he didn't even have to do anything. Like everything you saw was in that staunch expression across there, and you're like, who's this guy? Is he working for the Phantom? Is he his own agent? Or
Why has he got that guy laying around?
yeah, exactly. And I thought he was good to add to the story.
Yeah.
I was genuinely surprised. Like, I was kind of taken aback by being like, oh, who the hell's this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And again, he didn't do too much, but he didn't do too much, but then he didn't need to. Like, everything you saw was the expression of, there's something up with this guy. You don't know what it is. He just has the like just kind of furrow and again darkened, sunken eyes.
Yeah.
So you wonder what that's about. But
and then they tie it all together in the end, and we won't tell you how.
yeah,
but...
no, because that's spoilers for a 100-year-old movie.
It is.
But yeah, that was one thing there. I don't know if there were any other standout performances besides Cat on Stairs.
Yeah, that cat. Hey, they showed that cat a couple times. It did a pretty good job.
It did.
Running down
No
the
notes,
stairs.
perfect, flawless acting.
Yeah.
I believed it was a cat.
What'd you think about the dragon in the basement that looked like we were in King's Landing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. There's like the big dragon head
You
opening
think that,
there.
You think George R.R. Martin took some inspiration from that, or at least the showrunners? I mean, it's
Probably.
literally a big dragon head that you can walk through in the.
I mean, that was pretty damn sweet.
Yeah.
You know, I can't believe I thought that was just merely a prop, which, but I
You
had
see
the doorway.
Phantom's, yeah, in the beginning you see the Phantom's shadow, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's one other thing I do want to talk about this film is setting
The
wise.
setting was actually pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I'm just a sucker for that sort of like old opera house style.
Mhm.
So already, like, it's already hitting like a personal like for me.
Mhm.
But really, all of the angles they had and sort of taking advantage of the fact of like, oh, this is a stage, so we can have like different things and make it look more like a stage, which I'm sure was easier for them whenever they did stuff. But yeah, I was genuinely impressed. Like, literally, that huge dragon head didn't even need to be there, but they're like, let's just have a huge,
Let's throw this in here
giant dragon head right here.
as you descend into the catacomb. That's also, I think, the benefit of it being in Paris with the setting is, you go down and down these layers of I mean, Paris is an ancient city like so many European cities, so they just have layers of underground that makes it for great spooky settings as they sort of dive into the opera.
Yeah, like, genuinely, it is very much like a gorgeous film to look at with some shots, and I love their use of the shadows. Like, straight from the beginning, they're already trying to hint at the Phantom, and so they introduce him as a shadow at first, moving back and forth, and only seeing glimpses.
Only spoke of in rumors.
Yes, and I felt like they just took advantage of that, and they have some, like, very nice scenery, like, especially Aaron's talking about with, like, the catacombs, the crypts, and
the cellars.
yes, all of that, and especially see the waterways, which obviously is imagery that has been plastered to the identity of the Phantom himself. But that was just one thing I genuinely enjoy. Like, even the opera house itself with, like, the flourishes, the ceiling, like, it's very much it takes advantage of being a theatrical film with all the settings and the costumes and everything. Like, it is a grandiose sort of vibe and film, so very much highly enjoyed that. And so that for me was definitely a great aspect to watch the film and be immersed in it as well. And there's like several scenes that I could point out to, obviously some diving more into spoilers, but there's definitely like a lot of strong imagery with this film that hits. So I think that's definitely pretty dadgum cool, if I say so myself.
I would agree. Definitely, they made strong use of the environments and certain props to, because I mean, a lot of themes and motifs you gotta convey purely through the environment, through the props, the backgrounds, the settings. So I think they did a good job of. I'm excited to talk about some more of that in spoiler territory.
Yeah, and again, it's sort of weird with with this film and everything, because obviously whenever it comes to like music, I feel like it's one of those things, especially coming out as a silent film, don't know how much we can judge music with it.
Because it serves a different role. It's like constant, because you got to have a background track, and then but I really like the music because that's how he conveys the tone of each theme or whatever, when it rises, when it falls, and it's a lot of good opera in there. Not that I'm of the class that spent a lot of time in the opera. But I assume it's pretty good opera music. It sounded good in my ears.
Yeah, and one of the things I do have to give credit for, because again, with silent films, we might have talked about this in Nosferatu, but obviously they're typically in black and white, but to heighten some of the senses, they would color the cells as a certain color, so it'd be like a hue and everything, but I was genuinely kind of taken aback whenever it came to the masquerade portion, and there were certain colors, like they brought out reds more so, and I was...
As the Red Death was there.
Yeah, so I was genuinely surprised, which that might have been basically an edit later on or whatever, but I thought it was like very interesting if they did take the time to color those scenes. I tried to...
They definitely did some color rate, because there's a lot of the underground scenes were painted green, like we never had that green tone to them. And then a lot of the actual opera house scenes seem to have like an orange glow to it. So I wonder, if they put a film or however they accomplished that. But... Yeah,
something I definitely will have to look into later. But that was something I forgot about until I watched it. And I was like, that's pretty impressive. Like, if that's how they... I don't know if I might have been like a later re-release or something like that, but just something at the very least, I'm like, well, that's kind of cool to see a silent film do to accentuate red hues.
To be able to add color in before they had color film,
Yeah, so felt like that was good. It's kind of hard to talk about anything else without spoiling it.
True.
So was there any other points you wanted to point out or anything else whenever it came to the overall non-spoilery idea of the Phantom of the Opera?
I don't think so. I mean, there's some interesting themes going on with stuff like mirrors and stuff like class struggle, but I feel like I can't really elaborate on any of that stuff until we get to spoilers. So, I think there's not a whole lot to say before you get into spoiler territory, because this movie's pretty straight to the point with the plot, because you got to kind of, you can't really relish in a lot of the moments that are just silent. But
I'm kind of the same way. So without further ado, how about you rate your score for Phantom of the Opera?
You got it, dude. Boy, oh boy, I struggle with this because I got to kind of grade it on a curve, because the limitations of the time. But it's also hard for me to grade it. I mean, it's a classic, and but for a modern audience, I don't know. So take my rating with a grain of salt, because I don't even really know what the rated, to be honest with you. But I enjoyed it. I see why it's a classic. I think a lot of the themes have aged well. I think some of it has maybe not aged as well, but I don't think anything's going to stop this movie from continuing to be considered a classic for the next 100 years or whatever. So don't take my opinion too harshly. But I was also kind of nodding off a little bit. I think my attention has been stimulated by, the sugary breakfast cereals or whatever the reason is. I can't focus on something as long as people did 100 years ago. There are definitely some slower parts and some awkward dialogue and some in the title cards, and probably some unnecessary things, but overall I thought it was enjoyable. It was a classic, and I give it like a 6 out of 10, maybe like a 7. I really have no idea how to rate this, but I wouldn't rate it below average, but also for a modern audience, I don't think I could give it a 10 out of 10, because I just it's not something I could just slap on. You'd have to be like, are you in the mood for a silent movie? Do you want to watch one that's very dramatic and opera-y? You want to feel like you're going to the theater? Then sit down, pop this bad boy on, appreciate a little bit of film history. But it's not something I would with my friends over on a Friday night, pop on, let's watch the silent Phantom of the Opera. I don't know.
So you were kind of a bigger fan of Nosferatu.
Nosferatu, because it's a little, I don't know, it's creepy. This is like a romance with some horror elements, because there's like a monster involved, and it is a sort of coercive romantic tale, as you could tell. But it's Nosferatu's got a little more, I don't know, some like immediate interest value, some gawking value. Like, isn't this creepy? You remember that scene from SpongeBob? Or like, oh, this is, and it's, it's I don't know. Dracula's pretty familiar to everyone, I think. Phantom of the Opera is at this point, too, except for me, because I've been living under a rock. But,
And what a great rock it is.
It's an excellent rock. But, yeah, I don't know. It's, this one, if you have some theater kids over, yeah, it'll probably slap. But, general audience these days probably, I don't know, I would imagine would rate it less favorably than me. But I also have an opinion that most people are stupid, so I don't and can't appreciate old silent movies. I appreciate this one, I do. I'm not in a rush to watch it again, just because of the pace. I'm not in a rush to watch Nosferatu again, to be honest with you. But I like that I've seen both of these films, and I did enjoy this one. So that's why I give it like a 6.
Okay, yeah, I was curious on it since we haven't seen too many silent films, because I remember whenever we watched Nosferatu, you were a bigger fan of Nosferatu than I was, and I feel like we're kind of on vice versa now, where I think I like Phantom of the Opera better, but I think there's a lot more elements that speak to me. Again, like I said, there's a lot of like
there's some good stuff in here. I'm not
oh
trying
yeah,
to
no,
it,
yeah. And I still gave like
sure.
Nosferatu like a 6 out of 10 because again, there were like a lot of scenes. Again, like Max Schreck significantly makes that film what it is, and as the same with this one, Lon Chaney Jr. really is the driving force for me on why this film is so enjoyable to me. That and the setting alone, those are probably the two biggest.
Setting's excellent.
Yes, the two biggest things that drive it. But there's enough substance for me to watch it. But I am on the same idea with you that like, am I gonna crack open this boy and be like, I just got to sit down and watch this? Not necessarily. It's like more so its existence is more interesting to me than sitting down and watching the film. Like I
can see the influence that this has had on a lot of other similar materials, but yeah.
And like I said, it also does like a lot of like personal things that I'm like, yep, that's just awesome looking, and sort of the physicality as well, because there is like a lot of motions, especially Lon Chaney does, which again, it could be just sort of the standard of acting at the time, like just taking advantage of full motion like you would in theater, because I'm sure you remember in theater you have to do a lot of motions a lot bigger because you're looking at an audience,
right?
And again, I felt like it just paid off, and there's a lot of movement and everything else where I'm like, man, he's just a master of his craft right there. Good stuff. But yeah, I'd be lying if there wasn't some parts where, especially towards the beginning, it just feels more gag heavy, which, mind you, I don't mind gags in my film at all whatsoever, but I feel like if the gags aren't even that great, it definitely starts to drag it down a little bit. And I would say the gags at the beginning are below moderate.
Yes,
you know, like they're not
agree.
Terrible, but it's just like, okay,
maybe,
you know.
Maybe they were hilarious in 1920s, but
yeah,
nowadays it's like, all right, we wasted a good amount of silent film time and patience on that bit.
So that definitely detracted, and overall, like especially whenever it came towards the ending of, you know, it feels like a grand build up, and it just like,
and we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Wrap it up, folks.
So story-wise, I did feel like it was good, but I wouldn't say it was anything past that.
Yeah.
I think it's more of the ideals and themes and everything else that kind of lend its strength. So because of all that stuff, I probably would give this film a 7 out of 10 at the very least. You know, maybe comfortably 7.5 potentially. I feel like 8 would definitely be gaslighting myself a little bit too much, trying to amp it up, but it's still solid. I mean, so Aaron and I are pretty dadgum close of liking it about the same, relatively, you know, just enjoying it. Be like, yeah, it was good. It's good. Don't know if it's like, you know, perfection of all time, but I mean, literally, it's like one of the first few films ever made in like the first, you know, decade of them making films, so they're still figuring this stuff out.
Of this type of film, for sure.
So and we'll probably discuss more about the stuff that's revealed later, and stuff we liked and then stuff we didn't like, all that good stuff. So if you have like any remote interest in checking out Phantom of the Opera, I mean, you could check it out. It's in public domain. You can literally find any video on YouTube or Tubi or
watch it on the YouTube.
Anything like that at all. Like literally just watch it. But again, it's one of those things, like if I was to recommend a silent film, would I recommend this one? Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
have to know the person. If
Yeah.
I kind of got a vibe and I'm like, this is like a musical-y type person or whatever, or like a,
Yeah.
opera dramatic, someone with a flair for the dramatic and the, and I'd be like, yeah, give it a watch.
Yeah, so yeah, that's about it. We're gonna spoil this 100-year-old film now, so
Yeah.
you can smoke bomb yourself out of the episode if need be. There you go. See, it's done. You're gone already. See, I'm not even talking to you right now because you already left.
You're definitely not listening in the lurking in the walls, listening like
No.
the Phantom.
Yes, with his angelic voice. Aaron, what do you want to talk about first for spoilers?
Boy howdy. I guess we can talk about mirrors. Because he, yeah. Well, I guess let's start at the beginning. One of the gags I did like, actually, was right at the beginning where the guy had a monocle and it fell right out of his eye.
Oh, I missed that one.
That was pretty funny. Whenever they were first signing the documents, which is a pretty good gag to start on, where they're like, doo-doo-doo, the proud new owners, and then they're like walking out, and he turns around like, by the way, might be haunted.
That was pretty good. I will give that, because it is. I was talking to Aaron. I'm like, I love how they just throw in this mention after the sale's done. Like, pretty much been avoiding it the entire time, and they're like, it's haunted.
Have to tell you, haunted.
Yes. So I felt like that was good. Gags that didn't work for me, that it is funny, but also like, good Lord, is having 30 ballerinas running around as a horde.
That was a good gag, and then they did it for too long.
Yeah, they milked it too much.
But it was really funny that they were all reacting scared and
yeah.
And then there was the part where the stagehand guy behind the scenes or whatever, who's like, my brother's seen him, before.
Yeah.
Whenever he gets scared, they like start looking to him for clues. So he's like, oh, and then they look at him and they go, oh, and they all pop. It was a good gag, but yeah, then it was like, you're watching like 6 minutes of the ballerina gag, and you're like, all right.
You're like, okay, we get it, just wrap it up. Which I'm sure at the time, like, they're like, we need to make this about an hour long. What can we do?
Right.
Trying to stretch this out, but yeah, definitely towards that beginning, felt like the goofs and gaffs were like, it was like, cute.
And
that was about.
And that is what I mean when I say like this. A lot of early films of this era were still transitioning from like theatrical performance to like what it means to be a movie in cinema. And that's a very theater gag, having the troops of people. And then they dance off or whatever. It's like which is kind of appropriate for this film because it's the opera. You know what I mean? These are literally stage actors, so like I'm not counting it against that film, but a lot of the gags were kind of like that, where it's some sort of visual and then they kind of pantomime the reaction, and it's a little slapsticky almost. But.
Yeah, which I'm curious on. Now I'm thinking about it, whether it might have been even studio interference to do something like that, because obviously at the time people saw like film and even cartoons as a novelty as opposed to an actual art form. So I'm curious on that, and whether like the gags were thrown in there just for audience's sake, like, hey, let's throw in some gags because we need filler or do this. But yeah, it makes me curious, but definitely was one of my lesser favorite aspects. I just love the overall moodiness of the film.
Yeah, for sure. I do love that this film is kind of unique amongst film we watched, where the monster is not like, I'm gonna go kill everybody just because I'm a slasher or whatever. Like, he is in love with the protagonist, and that's his primary motivator, and he's just kind of an insane person that's like, also, if you don't love me, I'll kill your boyfriend.
I just think that's such an interesting idea, just having an individual that's elusive to the public, that they have to kind of follow, otherwise bad things happen, and it kind of seemed to have no control over it. And I love the fact that clearly it's been going on for a long while.
Long enough to have the previous owners like be excited to sell this thing. Because the Phantom's been causing problems.
And not only that, but to have Ledoux, who's figured out later to be undercover police, to have been sizing up this place for a long while and just being like, yeah, okay, I've noticed these patterns and everything. So I definitely like that sort of like ideal for a setting, you know, and how the
Yeah.
character hierarchy works. But
Yeah.
I think it is interesting as well, just him being a monster. But again, he's not really after anybody. It's just he's only after those that hinder him from having Christine perform for him, because it's just it's clearly him doing all this is not a sense of like, you know, I want to do this because I love and care about you. It's just like, I want you to do this because this fulfills my need that I need, which is hearing
Right.
you sing and your adoration and love that you'll probably have for me later if I do all this nice stuff.
It is a beautiful setup because I love the way that it's structured, both like physically, literally, and also symbolically. Of like he is at the lowest level of society, and also the lowest level of the opera. He's at the bottom of it, listening to the beautiful people up top, which is what like a lot of the themes about when I mentioned like working class stuff in the previous segment. That's like really drilled in. I'm sure they cut a lot of it out of the book and stuff to fit for this, but the fact that there's one night a year where all the casts get together and they are all wearing masks, and you know that's the time that the Red Death gets to come out and mingle with the higher class people. I mean, the opera functionally is rich, classy status place, and he's reaching up for something that's unobtainable as he lives in the sewers, you know. But what's more interesting is that he fancies himself as part of this class. He is the Phantom of the Opera. And his underground, even though he lives on this lower level in this sewer, he's filled it with organs and fancy drapes and things. It looks like a little mini opera house down there in the little cave that he lives in, because he's living in this world in his own head, and you know he manages to even control this world to a certain extent, but then reality all comes crashing down whenever he actually gets the girl in front of him, and she's no longer wooed by these voices that he would trickle into her dressing room. And instead, he's seeing the ugly reality of the guy behind it all, and it's
Well, and it's kind of interesting too, because thinking about you and sort of the illusions, themes, and everything else, it's really interesting with this theme of Phantom of the Opera, especially with the Phantom himself, is the fact that, you know, you would think like again in the musical, I feel like they try to humanize him and kind of sympathize with him, but with this one they kind of almost double down still that he's not a very good person. Like he's still a sort of a victim of circumstance, sort of just the fact that he is very hideous to the public, but also he clearly is a committed felon.
Yes.
You know, but he also has like that taste of sort of like classical music. Like he's clearly like a fine musician and everything else. And it is very interesting that with the mask itself, obviously it's not that Andrew Lloyd Webber half mask that they stylize, but I almost still like it in the fact that he still tried to make it look humanized with like a veil and you see the mouth moving. I felt like that was like very excellent costuming.
It is excellent, and it's kind of creepy, and but it's also a great. I mean, obviously, it's a great symbol for all the things I was just talking about. The mask himself, as he's putting on to enter this society that he doesn't really belong to.
Yeah, and it's so weird because like whenever it comes to him again, like they do a lot of things where I'm trying to like nail it down. It's so hard, but it's like, again, he doesn't have like the typical like, you know, good guy switch around like, oh, I'm actually a good guy just being dictated by hatred, but he has like this flippant attitude of like he's nice whenever he's trying to get what he wants, but then whenever he does it, he just loses his shit.
Yeah,
he's
super
just
controlling. Yeah, I mean, it really is just like a parasocial relationship. Like, you know, with the way that people view streamers, where they're like, I love you, please take all my money, and then whenever the streamer girl sees you at TwitchCon, she's like, ew, gross, I don't like you, and then she's like,
Fuck you. I'm gonna swat your house.
But it's very interesting they committed to that character archetype. Like they never try to have some sort of realization or humanization on his behalf, like I feel like they do in the musical, which I'm kind of like, you know, you would think it would be kind of like less well done, just because again it's not like provoking, challenging stuff. Sometimes people are just consistently just pieces of shit, no matter
right.
what they're.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of, he is a sort of, I don't want to call it gray, because he's probably a little more on the bad side, but, yeah, his motivations are not, like, good and evil. He's not the Joker, even though he does some Joker-ass shit in this movie. He's, you know, he's motivated by this girl, and he needs to get this girl at any cost, and it's warped his morality such that he doesn't care if he even kills to get her, and he doesn't see that how flawed of an approach that is. He's just super hyper-focused on, like, this beautiful woman, and so there's a lot of beauty that comes out of that, and a lot of romance. This is a fairly romantic movie in plot and many times, and in setting and so much, but then it sort of gets on the ugly side of what that romance entails is actually just an unhealthy obsession.
Yes, and I think that's just very unique, and I think makes the film stronger than if they try to humanize him in this story anyways, because especially just led to a lot of great scenes where he has like pure menace about him, whether it's like literally whenever the stagehand is on the stage close to the final performance and you see the silhouette of the man hanging, it's very eerie. There's something about it just in the silent film form, especially seeing something that early and seeing like a shadow hang there where it's just like, wow, yeah, that's taking strong imagery and just taking a lot of that. And
that happens so often. I mean, in horror media and otherwise, where they have to censor things in a certain way. Like, they can't show the guy hanging on a movie in this era, but they're like, well, we can't show his shadow. And so sometimes the result of them having to get creative with it, like, makes for a new type of, ooh, that's kind of spooky.
Yeah, where you can't see it, so you can only imagine what it is. So I definitely appreciate that aspect about the film, and I do appreciate kind of how ambitious it is with some of the stuff, because obviously one of the classic things that everyone knows from the tale of Phantom of the Opera is the crashing chandelier, and I felt like them just deploying something like that and just showing like literally pulling people from underneath the chandelier that are like limp. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty audacious there.
Yeah, they did a good job of, because they obviously couldn't just like cut a giant chandelier down and let it crash in this era of filmmaking, but they did a really good job of showing it fall and then showing the aftermath in a way that was edited to not be too jarring.
But yeah, whenever it comes to the overall plot, I think that's one of the things, that the plot is good. It's not that good. I think it's just more interesting to discuss themes.
The plot is is a vehicle, but there's definitely a lot of themes and stuff that are embedded in.
I think the themes is what saves the story. Is again kind of like, again, you talking about the ideals about, you know, sort of humanization and what happens if you're obsessed with one person and don't reciprocate back.
Yeah, and what happens when you put on a mask to lure somebody into a romantic relationship, and then what happens when that mask inevitably slips and they find out you're not who you were pretending to be.
And I do love that they have like a literal representation of that. I mean, I do have to talk about one of my favorite scenes, which is, you know, whenever the Phantom finally is like, okay, Christine, it's time that we met. You know, I've been talking to you this whole time. And then, you know, of course, you get that great shot of him in the, you know, flooded cellars, and he has like the gondola moving. And whenever he's playing on the organ, you know, she reads a letter and says like, hey, everything's going to be okay as long as you don't take my mask off. So you know she's immediately going to take the mask off, because again, she's like, what is under there?
Right.
And it just shows that curiosity. And I feel like as soon as it's revealed on what he looks like, he just sort of decides to let that shitty part just dictate how he acts towards her. So I think that's like very interesting,
and it's very human too, to think that like, I'm so incapable of love that once you see my face you could never love me, but she would love me if I just wore this creepy mask all the time.
He thinks that like that veil and what he could provide is enough. So definitely that scene of the reveal and the shock on Lon Chaney's part, and just anytime he's able to show off his face, he does well. But like I said, even with the mask, just the physicality of his body, the waviness, which I'm sure heavily inspired Phantom of the Opera's movement in the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, just with like the whooshing and everything. Just really, again, sort of building up that tuxedo mask attitude that you're talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, speaking of the gondola and all that stuff, I mean, a lot of like death imagery too. I mean, he is a phantom. He's supposed to be a ghost.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So I mean, they literally they go across the river Styx or whatever in their little gondola. It specifies even in the title card, it's not just the black and white effect, that it's, you know, a black sea kind of that they go through. And then yeah, I mean, literally he kills a guy in it later. So like it's like this is the river Styx, and you're taking it through the phantom. Like he have to go cross into the underworld, and then he like sleeps in a coffin, and like he's literally in the crypts, the catacombs of Paris, which if you've ever been there, there's a lot of dead people down there because that's where they would put the dead people. So it's yeah, I haven't quite pieced together exactly what it means that he's dead, and also like in this romantic thing. I don't know enough about history to know. They mentioned he was tortured in the Second Revolution or whatever. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in there that if I knew more about it, we could piece together some symbolism. But I do like the death themes around him being. I mean, even his face is disfigured to look like a skull. He has no nose. He has, you know, the sunken eyes. They describe him, you know, he wears a mask with no light in his eyes, like the eyes of a skull or whatever. They describe him in terms of death all the time.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's just because they also describe him, his skin as like leprous. I wonder if he's literally just like diseased and condemned down there or what. But
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of like imagery that can complement that, because I mean, first off, if you remember at the masquerade, you know, he actually attends because
With
he could
a
be
skull
fully
mask.
in costume. So yes, he was like Red Death.
yes,
Which that's a fantastic outfit.
It
like
is.
that's one thing, costuming, especially because it is in a theater house, so they don't have to worry about like Nosferatu, for instance, trying to be period accurate.
right.
They could be as flamboyant as possible with
Boy,
the
were they.
outfits. But yes, whenever Christine sings one of the songs, she's actually dressed up as an angel and everything.
Yeah,
So
true. Yeah,
you know, and of course, you know, you hear people say you have the voice of an angel and everything. So I think that also could be used for comparison of like
it's like heaven,
life,
hell.
death. Yes.
Yeah, literally the bottom is hell where he is. She's at the top, heaven. She's an angel. He's a little devil. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, so I you know, you pointing that out does make it very interesting to say the least. So I definitely like that aspect as well, and I think that's why the Phantom of the Opera story is just strong in general. I think to where it, I mean, you hear people, I'm sure you heard people nonstop talk about Phantom of the Opera and drama as you were exposed to, and everything. So obviously there's a staying power to the story itself.
He also has a quality of a villain that I will say we don't see very much in modern media anymore, but we used to back in the day, and that is a dungeon with a lair, with all
yes.
He has a lair, and he has all kinds of little dungeon traps. You know.
Oh my gosh, yeah. See, and that's the thing I think that's like unique is the fact that he knows the layout of the opera house like the back of his hand, so it's sort of like his weapon as well.
Yes.
Because, you know, that was the other thing that I did find interesting is the fact that whenever Ledo is taking Chagny down, he's like, keep your arm up next to your neck so you don't get strangled.
Yeah, and then they enter that room where there's just like nooses hanging from the ceiling or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is a little silly because obviously they're walking around with their arm up like this, you know. But it's, you know, it is great, like, I don't know, Scooby-Doo ass dungeon splunging where they're going through each room and trying to find this guy and just uncovering the elaborate layer that he's built for himself down here as he hides away from humanity.
Yeah, it is goofy with our arms up and everything. It's nowhere near as goofy as the size of mob they're able to pull to go after this phantom after the death
through the darkness
of the stagehand. That was like wild. Where I'm like, I understand why, because they wanted like a big grand finale of them chasing the phantom down. But just the comedically large size mob that stormed.
Hey man, okay, back in the day, used to be not shit to do except for join an angry mob. You see people with pitchforks down the street, you're like, hell yeah, let me grab my torch.
Yeah.
Mob.
Yeah, everyone's waiting for a mob nowadays. It's just
and also Paris, I mean, those guys know how to form an angry mob.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're always angry. They're always rebelling, so you know what's up. Yeah, for me, that's where it gets like a little like, okay, this is kind of getting like goofy, because like, say for instance something like, and I know this came out 8 years later, Frankenstein, where like the mob forms because again it's a small village, a little girl dies, and they're like, this is fucked up, we're going to have a mob. But just like some regular stagehand guy being like, oh, I love that guy.
I believe it. They were all. It was all like the cast and crew and stuff that was.
Oh, I thought it was like other denizens of.
Well, I think they picked up people along the way, but I think originally they were like, yeah, I mean, the theater's like a family.
Theater kids, am I right? Bunking together.
Yeah. So somebody, if you're all in a production, you're doing the same opera every day, and the stagehand that dies, you're gonna be mad because you have to pick up that guy's slack.
But yeah, that was it. Was definitely funny seeing some of the like again theatrics waka waka that went to, especially whenever the Phantom decides to kidnap Christine once he knows of the plan of Christine and Chagny like running away because
he overhears them standing on top
which
of the
that was a great scene as well, just seeing the Phantom like freak out on the statue as he overhears the conversation. That was also visually a great moment where again like them highlighting his cloak in the red against the blue. I was like, yeah, that's visually strong. But whenever Chagny's brother is towards like the entrance of the canal, that Lon Chaney grabs something, and I honestly thought it was like a thwacking stick or something. But no, it turns out it's a little snorkel, and he just like plummets down into the water daintily, which I thought was great. Just seeing a little bamboo thing sneak up to the boat, and then he's like tipping the boat over to.
He Jasons them.
I know, right?
Pops out of the water.
It makes me curious if that's where they also got inspiration of it, or if it's just mere coincidence.
Yeah.
Big guys wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Horribly disfigured underneath.
Ugly people jumping out of murky waters to drown someone in the. I mean.
Yeah.
There's definitely some parallels you could draw.
Yeah, definitely. Stay tuned for that episode never to release.
Where we dive into Friday the 13th and the Phantom of the Opera. They both wear masks. What's up with that?
Friday spelled with a PH.
Yeah.
Let's see. And I did think it was a little too comedically funny that whenever Ledoux and Chagny are in the room and are like, oh man, we're in the torture room, and the Phantom overhears their voices, he's like, time to crank up the heat.
Yeah.
It's just like, how convenient, which I guess that's why mirrors are there.
Yeah, I mean, they did mention that, he's locked down in the same place where they would torture people after the Second Revolution, so he's like, that's their explanation for having mirror torture rooms in the fifth level of the catacombs or whatever.
That's fair, and especially just again, he doesn't want to see his face at all, so could make sense. But I do love that they coincidentally are like, oh shit, there's another level. Let's just go down here. Then it's just a room filled with gunpowder and they're locked in. And then the Phantom decides to dish out the like, you choose their fate, turn the scorpion.
Oh right, the scorpion or the grasshopper.
Yeah, doing that. Turn the scorpion to save their lives from being blown up, or you just blow them up. You choose. And I do, as silly and cheesy as it is, I couldn't help but enjoy it, especially seeing the Phantom's face every time she hovered over a certain one.
Yeah, she was trying to decide, and he's like, ooh.
And then ultimately, whenever she's like, okay, I want to save them, she does, but of course it causes the room to flood, which I do love that final plea of, like, again, where it's like, please save them, I'll do anything you want. And so of course the Phantom's like, oh, you got it, you'll do anything I want, just
right, because at the end of the day he's like, I want you, baby, so whatever you say.
But I do love that, because I honestly would have expected that would have been a normal moment of like the monster having humanization and being like, oh, those two love each other, they truly belong together, it's me who shall escape. But in this one he's like, nah, I'm taking her.
Right.
That's the deal.
Goal.
Deal's deal.
He wants the girl.
But I do love that they basically show and explain how the mob is able to get through the catacombs, since basically the water was drained from the catacombs to flood the gunpowder, so that allows them to get through. So I felt like, that's good stuff there, leading up to that final chase. I also do have to mention this before talking about that final chase. I do love that the Phantom talks to the owners through the letters and basically saying, hey, basically bossing them around saying, hey, don't let Amaret perform, otherwise bad things are gonna happen.
Yeah, those letters were kind of cash when he was signing them the Phantom.
Oh
But
yeah,
then when he started signing them Eric,
dude, I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's down a point, Eric.
that is a disappointing Phantom name. Is just named Eric. Maybe I'm missing some sort of reference, but this for a script that's so like laden with themes and motifs, it's like I'm Eric with a K.
With a K. Because I'm that edgy. Eric, yeah, definitely
That's
prefer
the bad guy.
calling him Phantom of the Opera as opposed to Eric.
Hey, before we get to the final chase scene,
Oh yeah.
do you think he's a vampire?
Oh. No.
Why does he never look into a mirror? Why does he sleep in a coffin?
He ugly. He wants to die. I don't know.
Well, it's all the way down to the point where, she has that hand mirror, and then it just has her name on it.
That's true.
And a little picture instead of there actually being a mirror. Like what?
I thought can technically vampires go into a body of water? I thought there was something about like flowing water.
You can't cross flowing water, but it's still.
I'm not crossing. I'm in it.
True.
Doing that. I don't know. Fans, fellas, what do you think?
I'm gonna do some Googling.
Is Eric
later.
a vampire?
Later, I'm gonna Google to see if anyone else thinks he's a vampire.
I am to do that homework. We need to find answers for this 100-year-old film.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she literally has to like walk through a mirror in which she can't see his reflection and so it seems like it's hinting
That's true.
at some vampiric qualities. I don't know if they're bold enough to be like vampire fiction, but
giving off shadows similar to Nosferatu. Coincidence? I think not.
Do we ever see him outside during the day?
These are the questions that need to be answered.
Yeah.
That final chase scene. I do love how they have it perfectly set up for this final chase scene because they're like, it's okay, I have a coach and a carriage prepared for us to flee to England
And then
just to get out of this.
He just grand horse autos them.
Yeah, he just like, oh, like I hear like the GTA monologue, like, hey, what the hell, man? You know. And I do love like the absolute manic giddy the Phantom has, like just going off. But I do love that it's like, oh man, how's Christine going to escape? Just jumps out the door.
Yeah, she just tucks and rolls, baby.
Tucks and rolls. And I do love that the carriage just collapses in on himself.
Yeah, he like tries to turn it and the carriage is just like
it just wheels buckle in. And then of course he's like running towards Christine, but I love how ultimately he's like, no, it's not worth it. I'm just going to try to run away.
Or the whole mob's running towards him, and he's like, yep, I've got a bolt.
I think, and that's the thing that I love and hate about this film, is that final chase scene. I think it's like definitely grandiose that they're trying to build up to, but it's also just a little too silly there.
For what ends up happening. Yeah, because it is kind of like Frankenstein, and the Frankenstein movie, which I will spoil now, so go ahead and mute this next 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it. They did change the ending from the book to make it a little more grandiose from the movie, where they chase him all the way to the windmill and they burn it down. You know what I mean? And that's like a way where you adapt something for film to make it like, because I really like that ending, even though it's not original. You know. But this movie, they just like, he just kind of gets pushed into the water.
Yeah, like basically, and it's funny because he gaslights him into think he has like a bomb or something, and then like I guess he realizes he doesn't have anything, so he's just like a Joker attitude. So then they beat the shit out of him and throw his body into the water.
That is kind of what makes him a little weak as a villain. Is he's just a guy named Eric. He's just a really ugly guy named Eric.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's what
once you get him out of his...
Nosferatu has a little bit. Count Orlok is definitely
he's actually
a lot
vampire.
spookier name than Eric. But Phantom of the Opera is still a sick title.
It is pretty sick.
Regardless there. So,
he
he
failed the branding test by switching to Eric. Should never revealed that.
No, definitely his biggest mistake is letting people know his name is Eric.
Just change it, man. Well, I mean, you're already the Phantom of the Opera. Like, is it really that big of a kooky step to be like, and my name is Schmiegeldorf, or whatever, you know.
Schmiegeldorf.
whatever would be menacing 100 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny too, because it'd be one thing if he's like, Eric died a long time ago. Like, do something edgy at the very least. There is only the phantom that remains.
My name is Phantom.
Fan. I'm your biggest fan.
No.
Anyways, but yeah, no, him doubling down on Eric was definitely one of his biggest missteps.
His name could be Tom. I'm your biggest fan, Tom.
Tom, at least Tom is silly enough. Where it's like
Eric is just like a guy.
It's like Holy Grail from Monty Python. It's like, but you can call me
Tom.
Tim. So yeah. Honestly, if his name wasn't Eric, it could have been a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But it sunk it down 3 points for me. Totally.
Yep,
that's the main reason why.
If they made it Eric with a C, it'd be a little more normal. I'd give it 1 more point.
Yeah, I mean, at least I don't know.
K is a little dramatic, actually. I like that.
True.
Eric.
Yeah, I like just the K.
Yeah.
But
Maybe they could have made it like a CK, and then I would be on board. Eric. Which seems a little extra.
I think it's a little too much.
Yeah.
A little too much. But
We'll
I think
shove it.
it was just doomed from the start.
Yeah.
Wow. Anything else you want to talk about with this film?
I didn't see any Andrew Lloyd Webber numbers in this, so disappointed.
We did hear an organ though,
That's true.
so that was nice.
Yeah, it was a nice organ.
Yep, it's a very nice organ.
That's all I got for this one.
Okay, yeah, I don't have anything else either there, so yeah, I guess that's like the end of that, and now we're on to teaserinos here.
Yeah.
So December is coming up here.
Going
with
holidays?
Christmas time.
Yeah.
You betcha. And it's a sequel.
Krampus 2?
No, I would not do that to you. But let's just say it's a sequel to a film where it's highly anticipated, where the main antagonist threatened that he always comes back.
Bad Santa 2.
Yeah, Billy Bob Thornton, how'd you know? And let's just say the main cast of the family, as it was, is more toy versions of themselves.
Oh, this isn't Child's Play, is it? What?
No, you're getting pretty close though.
What did we watch
and it
already?
comes out in theaters in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, this is a real ass movie. Boy, I don't know. Sorry, give me a hint. Give me a rhymes with. Give me something a little more stupid proof.
Let's see. Well, let's just say that by the time we get closer to watching it, it'll be 5 nights.
Oh, at Fredward's.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was stuck on Christmas. I was like, oh, but...
Don't you know Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is totally a Christmas film?
I was like, what Christmas movie is coming out? That makes sense. Yeah, okay. Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Let's watch it.
I know. I figured...
I'm down.
All right, down.
Yeah.
With Toy Freddy. The newest Freddy with Toy Chica and Toy Bonnie.
Woo!
And Gangle. Yeah.
Gangle?
Yep. Gangle.
Are we going to see the bite of 87, whatever it is?
Yeah. Was that the bite of 87?
Markiplier's going to be in this one, I bet.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so,
Yeah.
but there's only one way to find out.
When we watch it next time on Popping the Scary. Because this is a podcast. A movie podcast. See what I did there? It was kind of like...
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Well, we'll see you all again next time when we're Poppin the Scary with Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
Woo!
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube, Castbox, or iTunes platforms to stay up to date when new episodes drop. To see what Aaron and I are up to, check out our respective Twitter accounts. For me, it is @ColeKirkVA, and for Aaron, it is @AnimalGameDev. Thank you all so much for listening to our podcast. We'll speak to you all again next time when we're Poppin' the Scary.